Hello everyone, uh, this is a special video. I'm going to be talking about the tools which I use to create figurines like this. I'll leave a link to time-lapse in the info. This is Illidan Storm Rage currently in progress, but this is one of my finalized projects. Chrome Hell Scream. And let's begin. So, first of all, the materials. I'm just using regular wire armatures inside this. So there's just your basic metal wire. Then there's basic aluminum foil. Just get a strong one that you can bend with these things. I don't know what's they're called in English. It's good to take metal wires that you are not able to bend with your hands, so when you're pressing the clay onto the figurine you won't be bending it so easily. What I also like to do is, as you can see in here, there's an aluminum foil inside this one. The aluminum foil is after the metal wire to create a little bit buffing, so there's not so much need for the clay inside. This is air drying clay, the base, and here's a rock inside, so it's balanced. Air drying clay, there's really nothing special to talk about. It's just clay. It dries in few days depending on the thickness of it. What I have used here is regular Sculpey, which I actually doesn't have here. It's a little bit cheaper, but you can't really create any kind of details in this scale, at least. It's very soft. You can create a nice basic form with it, and after that you can use which one you prefer. I prefer Super Sculpey instead the firm. I do use the firm sometimes in small pieces, like in the axis rim or the bracelets armor pieces, because it does hold a little bit better in the oven. Overall, I do like to use Sculpey because in firm there's slight problems with creating skin textures, for example, because it's so tough that it doesn't want to take something as tender as the toothbrush, for example, which I have used to be brushing the skin texture there. So this is pretty much buy one box of each, try which one you like better. I have created complete figurines out of this one. These are both about 20 euros a box, and you can do a lot with one box. I would say this piece, for example, is probably at the very maximum one box of original Super Sculpey. You can find those in pretty much any hobby shop, I would say, since I can find them at pretty easy in Finland, and it's very hard to find things like this in here, so at least in Europe. I think if you live in America you will be you can get your hands very easily on those. Okay, so the tools. I have quite a lot of tools here. I would say some people have a tremendous amount of tools, but I actually don't use so much. What I use the most is a wooden tool with a curve on the other hand, so I can do this kind of motion to smooth, or this kind of the curve. And then I have a spike here, which I have actually used my knife to make it a little bit sharper. It's for large holes, like the like for example the eye sockets on the skull here. Those large in betweens there, between the chains. I bought a package which had this is the second one in the package. The package cost €7 and it had 7 wooden tools like this, and I only use this one. I found the other ones to be obsolete. So I would say it's about €1. That's the main tool that I use. Then I have pretty much the same thing but in metal. This one though doesn't have the curve. This is just you can create little steps, curve a little bit. This is although very smooth edge, so you won't be able to cut so well. Then there's a large spike on the end of it compared to the second one in the model. This one is a lot sharper. I have 3 of these, and I'm going to say that the price for these is about €3 a piece. And these are the kind of tools that I would say that you need. I will be saying in the end, actually I'm going to say it now. The tools for starting a hobby like this, I would say 1 box of each these, or if you're not sure, or if you're on budget, just get the beige colored Super Sculpey, because that's easier to get working with. This firm one needs a little bit more time to get it warm and get it working. And if this one is too smooth after you have been using it for a while, just let the figurine sit a while and it will be fine. For the tools to start something like this is sharp edge. This is a pro edge blade. Just get the regular and get some extra blades for it, just in case, even though I usually haven't broken any of these. Another one is something that you can make at home, which I made because I couldn't find a small enough. Just get a wooden stick and use your metal wire around it and create a loop. The loop tool is great for carving material. I can show you here. So I do this. I can smooth and flatten out, and it will push the clay out of the circle, so it doesn't get stuck anywhere. If you use something like this to create, then it usually leaves a little bit of a scrap there, because there is nowhere for the clay to go. But this one just takes it out. This clay also, actually polymer clay, doesn't dry unless you bake it, so you don't have to worry about that. So this, the knife, if you you can get on with the wooden tool. I actually bought this metal tool just a while ago, and I have been doing this for 2 years. This figurine is completely done with basically these 3 tools. And this figurine is completely made of beige Super Sculpey. So this will be about 20 euros, about $20. One for I would say this costs, material cost is about €1 at max, so about 25 euros, $27 maybe, and you are ready to go. This platform, it's just something that I found at the hobby store for €2 too. Of course the metal wire, it's few euros, few dollars. Aluminium foil, how much that is at your local grocery store. And if you need to fix after baking, maybe some kind of super glue, but that's pretty much it for what you need. Now I'm going to talk about these tools that I currently use, as this is spear shaped. You can create medium details with it or create little dots, but it's not why I bought this tool. This edge is the reason, because you can create this. First of all, you can create it to blend, and especially if you're working with the firm one, you want to use the metal tools. Of course they don't give in as the wooden tool, so it is much more harsh towards clay. But also what I do with this is create some detailing like this, and it is the shape, since this is curved like this, you can create nice shapes and pockets and such. This is basically just a metal spoon, metal version of the wooden tool. This I have used to make fur a little bit faster way, but not so fine. If you want to make fine fur like in here, just use blade to scratch. I usually use the back side of the edge. So if you're using the cutting edge, it will just cut clean slices. There won't be any kind of gap between the parts. So if you use the dull end, it will leave a very small gap there. This kind of tools, depending on the tool, they work and they don't work. Of course, what you are after is also a great implement. As you can see, mine has broken a little bit. I don't know. This was also a very cheap one. This came with this kind of setup. It has 2 rolling ends. There's a big ball. I don't know what the hell that is. But this is like slices. So some kind of texture is able to do with that. Those 2, I've never used those. I've never used any of these 4. But why I bought this was the small ball, because with the ball tool it's easy to create larger cavities. But basically it's the same thing as this one. I found myself using this one much more than this. this is also a way to create fine cavities and gaps, because this gives in a little bit. You can get a much smoother, even if you press a little it will give in. Of course, measure. I like to use hard measure. I also have somewhere in here cloth measure tape, so I can use it to measure curved and random shaped objects. Toothbrush. Use some glue on the top of the hair, so it will get a little bit harder. If you overdo it, you will lose the ability to create texture, or you can also buy just a hard brush. But I will show you here. Just put it in and wiggle a little bit, and I don't know if you can see that, but it will leave like a dried skin that has been in the sun. It's a very mild effect, so I doubt my shitty camera will be able to catch that. This one I use, you can see that white bottle there with LAS. It's car windshield cleaner, which is 95% alcohol and 5% something that makes it undrinkable, because Finnish people would otherwise drink it, and some still do. Just dip this to the alcohol and brush it around, and it will make it seem a little bit gummy, like a gummy bear. Do this only after you have created all your details, because it cracks easily before baking. After you have doused it with alcohol. If you wait long enough, the alcohol will get out of the polymer clay and you will be able to work with it again. But I've had to wait about a day for that to work. But basically, if there's a residue of the clay and you do just very gently do this, and like barely touching, or just tap or something, and the residue clay that is stick to the figurine will clump, and you can get the little balls of the residue clay out of the cavities and everything, and then you have fine details. These are larger loop tools, which are just a waste of money in this kind of work. If you were to work on larger things like the mask over there, which is currently in progress, then you can use these. But the thing is, as you can see, these are flat. These are not round wire like this. This takes the clay out of it much more smoothly. This leaves a little bit of edge because these are flattened. I have never ever used these, not even in a large project. But this also, there was 7 of these in the package, and they cost around 10 euros, which is about 12 to $14. I wouldn't recommend buying these. I would recommend definitely creating this one, even though this might look something very stupid, but this works perfectly, and you can create just the size you want. You can create the size of a head of a pin and get a great amount of details with it. I have a lot of blades. This was in sale, so I bought it. I didn't bought it for the tools because the Pro Edge is a lot better. The Pro Edge was cheaper and the tool quality, how it feels in your hand, is a lot better. But I bought it for the blades because sometimes I need to cut something larger, and as I mentioned previously, it's hard to find tools for hobbies like this in Finland, and this one has a large flat head which I can basically carve. Even if I have finished product which I have baked before painting and I need to carve it, I can use these larger blades to carve it more smoothly than just going small tap 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 tap. So that leaves a lot finer end detail. I do have some sandpaper which I use. I sometimes wrap the sandpaper around a small stick or something to get into working with small places, like for the muscles here. Between the muscles I can work with the small sandpaper or so. Oh, and why I broke this here is because I was going to start working on it now that I have time again. One thing that I really, if you even think about getting into the hobby and after playing around with your first box of Sculpey, buy a pasta maker. This can be pricey. In here, buy a good metal one. Do not buy a plastic one from your hobby shop because it will break. If you invest $10-20 more, it will last, and you will get a long time use for it. There's also 5 different strengths in mine one. Basically, I just create very flat surfaces, and for example, for this guy's clothes, come on, okay, I will be creating very thin layers and I will be strapping them around, and then I just blend the edges together, and then I have the cloth over it, and if I leave a little bit room there, it will look very realistic and it will sag like a real cloth there. That's pretty much what I had to talk about. The reason why I did this video, because when I have been searching for search words for clay, I've stumbled upon a few times on polymer clay tools and clay tools as search words, and then I search on the subject a little bit more and find out that there isn't really that many videos that speak in a little bit of detail about the tools. But you don't need the tools, you only need your time and patience to do this kind of works. I would like to think that it's not about the tools, it's about the maker. And just to summarize it one more time, one box of this Pro Edge blade, it comes with one blade, so you don't have to buy the extra blades. Stick and metal wire for the armature and aluminum foil. maybe this wooden tool. If you have the loop tool, this one isn't even that necessary, and then you are ready to go. And I would say it costs about $35, so it's pretty cheap if you're at the very least into the idea of creating figurines or sculptures or something like this. It's I would say go for it. It can be very hard at the beginning. I have been doing 3D modeling for about 7 years, so I had pretty much a good idea how to sculpt in three-dimensional environment, but it will take some time, a little bit of frustration, and basically it's about the skill. You will learn over the time, so don't get discouraged, and if you fail, you can always just destroy your project and start again. The clay doesn't go bad, which is a great thing. It's only finished when you have baked it, and if you are one thing I have to say is this one says to bake in 130 Celsius for 15 minutes per 6 millimeters, which is 275 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes per 1 4 inch of thickness. You can ask me this later or just Google how much is it, but how I bake these is I put, instead of the 130 Celsius, I use about 110 Celsius or around 100, and bake it. Instead of the 15 minutes, I bake it 1 to 4 hours, because the longer you bake, the harder it gets. But if you go over the Celsius limit or Fahrenheit limit, it will start to crackle. But if you go under the heat limit, it won't crack. I've never had once in my lifetime a project to crack in oven, because I overbake them in lower temperature. So for now I have nothing more to say. I just want you to go and buy this stuff, and if you go and do that, please link me your work and ask for tips, or if you have more questions, go ahead and ask. I am more than willing to answer your questions. And thank you for watching, and have a nice day.